Tonight on Joy News Prime, all of Ghana's neighbors now have confirmed cases of coronavirus after Côte d'Ivoire became the latest to record a case. The confirmation coincides with the World Health Organization declaring COVID-19 a global pandemic.
We're deeply concerned both by the alarming levels of spread and severity and by the alarming levels of inaction.
President Akufo-Addo is meanwhile scheduled to address the nation tonight about the enhanced measures taken by government to contain any outbreak in Ghana. We will be bringing you that presentation immediately address its started. Now, help comes through for Yaya Kwanjit, a visually impaired old woman from Sambona in the northeast region whose wish to sleep on a mattress before she dies has touched thousands of Ghanaians.
Poverty is when you depend on people for everything. Poverty is when you want to eat banku and fish, pussy, drink malt, and any other drink, but you don't have the means.
We'll be telling you about her story that has gone viral and about the many who are offering assistance to her and also speak with those responsible for ensuring government interventions reach the very poor in society. Now, in a heart-wrenching story, coming from the Ashanti region, a 4-year-old has been crushed to death by a school bus which had gone to her home to fetch her.
When they heard of the school bus, they went outside. I was in the house. She had gone behind the vehicle and the bus ran over her.
Well, the Transport Ministry is now vowing to strictly enforce the country's road traffic regulations.
So we hear from January to now. Advert national was to Piaya, and that was in the year Piaya, and start to point more.
It comes after hundreds of deaths in road crashes over the years blamed on lack of enforcement of the country's laws. In business,
stable performance of food and non-alcoholic beverages group said to be the main drivers of inflation as February rate remains at 7.8%.
The food and non-alcoholic beverages remain the main drivers of inflation.
I'm Israel Line. Joy News Prime comes to you live from the Joy News studio at Kokomlemle here in Accra with digital address GA0992539, where we're celebrating 25 years of fearless journalism in the defense of Ghana's freedom and justice. Stay tuned in. Now, Côte d'Ivoire has registered its first case of COVID-19. The country's Ministry of Health and Public Hygiene announced the patient is a 45-year-old Ivorian who recently stayed in Italy. It comes after Togo and Burkina Faso recorded cases. It now means all of Ghana's neighbors have confirmed cases of coronavirus. The Ivorian announcement coincides with the World Health Organization's declaration of COVID-19 as a global pandemic. WHO Chief Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus said the number of cases outside China had increased 13-fold over the past 2 weeks.
Has been assessing this outbreak around the clock, and we're deeply concerned both by the alarming levels of spread and severity and by the alarming levels of inaction. We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic. Pandemic is not a word to use lightly or carelessly. It's a word that, if misused, can cause unreasonable fear or unjustified acceptance that the fight is over, leading to unnecessary suffering and death. Describing the situation as a pandemic does not change WHO's assessment of the threat posed by the virus. It doesn't change what WHO is doing, and it doesn't change what countries should do. We have never before seen a pandemic sparked by a coronavirus. This is the first pandemic caused by a coronavirus. And we have never before seen a pandemic that can be controlled at the same time. WHO has been in full response mode since we were notified of the first cases, and we have called every day for countries to take urgent and aggressive action. We have rang the alarm bell loud.
President Akufo-Addo is meanwhile scheduled to address the nation at 8 p.m. about the enhanced measures taken by the government of Ghana to contain any case of COVID-19 that is detected. When we intend to break into the news to take that address live, so do stay tuned in. Now, also here at Joy News, we intend to continue with the education about what you should do to ensure that you limit your contacts as much as possible with the COVID-19 should it ever find its way into the country. And there are some posters put out by the WHO which we intend to share with you on what to do. It essentially has to do with keeping personal hygiene. It's about washing of hands and using sanitizer. So here's one. Should I avoid shaking hands because of the new coronavirus? It says, yes, respiratory viruses can be passed by shaking hands and touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Greet people with a wave, a nod, or a bow instead. And the president has already talked about that. He spoke about that when during the anniversary parade, the 6th March anniversary, Independence anniversary parade, and he actually demonstrated it by refusing or declining to shake hands with the guests who showed up at the Kumasi Sports Stadium. Now, is wearing rubber gloves while out in public effective in preventing the new coronavirus infection? The answer is no. Regularly washing your bare hands offers more protection against catching COVID-19 than wearing rubber gloves. You can still pick up COVID-19 contamination on rubber gloves. If you then touch your face, the contamination goes from your glove to your face and can infect you. In another development, President of the Ghana Association of Barbers and Barbering Saloon Owners, Ibrahim Musa, says the association has directed its members to take personal hygiene seriously as the deadly coronavirus continues to spread fast. Speaking on the sidelines of a one-day summit to, among others, educate GAPSO members on how to use social media to promote their business, he stated they are implementing stringent measures to protect themselves and their clients.
This coronavirus started, we issue a communique through our General Secretary to the regional heads and the regional secretaries to go call an emergency meeting to talk to the regional people so that they can take it down to the zoners. Then our people should be careful. They should take the hygiene serious because we don't know the time the virus will come to you. But let's make sure that we prevent it. No, we don't have any education on that, but we are doing the small education that we have on that so that we can manage ourselves, so that we won't infect any Ghanaian citizen with a virus. Even we ourselves, we need to protect ourselves. So we are protecting ourselves and we are protecting the... After barbering, we use a towel warmer. You know, the towel is warm. So we used to clean your face after touching you. We used to clean your face, everything, before we apply pomade and give you some small alcohol. That's why in our motto, we say one man, one blade. Decent look and protection. So if you make the person look good, you have to protect him. So that is our motto, and we are doing exactly that to get more for our barbers, because I'm a barber by profession and I'm the national president. So you have to call for more for your people to be more educated so that we can do more for our client and make money. That's why we organize this program. We do have our internal training, but I met the group leader, Duva, on Facebook. We started chatting and he traveled down to spend 2 days. We have a chat. So he went back promising that they will come and partner so that we can educate the barbers more, especially communication, hygiene, and bookkeeping.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break, but still ahead in the bulletin, help comes through for Yaya Kwanjit, a visually impaired old woman from Sambona in the northeast region whose wish to help to sleep on a mattress before she dies has touched thousands of Ghanaians.
Poverty is when you depend on people for everything. Poverty is when you want to eat banku and fish, pussy, drink malt, and any other drink, but you don't have the means.
We'll be telling you about the many who are offering assistance to her and also speak with those responsible for ensuring government interventions reach the very poor in society, such as Yaya. Stay tuned in. We'll be back in a bit. Now, last Friday, we brought you the story of Yaya Sanjit. She's a visually impaired old woman in the northeast of the country. On her wish list were very basic items which will shame many of us. She belongs to an estimated 750,000 poor Ghanaians who are not beneficiaries of government interventions that have been put in place to help people like her. We're going to bring you back a bit of her story because there's been massive outpouring of support from many of you who saw the story on TV and saw it on Facebook. And you've been calling in to want to help. We'll tell her story again and then we'll have a conversation on the back of that.
In the heart of Sambona, a community in the northeast region, is Yaya Kwanjit, an old lady who does not know her age, but she firmly maintains that she's way younger than she looks currently. She blames poverty for draining all youthful juices in her, leaving her blind and old. She lost her sight after giving birth to her second child. Yaya lost her husband and recounts everything took a downward turn. She tries to define what poverty means to her.
Farane ka di fara ka hanyo matan bayin no fara mangena ala hatiare baka hatiana hanu abe ke tera pon ti kwa fana kare mo ma yenu ta hamba kufini ko kunyo yenu mo kapango tu ye ma yenu na ulona mu kama ngalwa se fa ka nywane ngabo nywanga ko luo bungbara ipo mungbara ta bani kinta to fi wela banku.
Poverty is when you depend on people for everything. Poverty is when you want to eat banku and fish, pussy, drink malt, and any other drink, but you don't have the means. That is what I consider poverty.
In fact, her two sons traveled to southern Ghana in search of supposed better living conditions, but only one visits her occasionally. Many times she is left to battle life alone. She cleans and does many domestic chores all by herself. The children in the community support by fetching water for her. She gropes for her stick, getting ready to prepare breakfast. She plants her own okra and periodically gets maize from her son and sometimes people in the community. But there are days that Yaya Kwanjit goes without any food.
There are days I have nothing. Sometimes the people of this community assume I'm okay. Those are the days I have nothing but depend on water. God always sees me through.
Although she has not seen her second son for several years, she holds no grudges. Rather, she blames his long absence on poverty.
Right, so joining me in the studio right now is Jojo Kobna, who put together that report. Jojo, Thank you. This is really good work, and I'm sure you've realized that from the outpouring of support that has come through. You tell us about what people have been offering.
Well, I've been inundated with phone calls. I mean, since 6 a.m. This morning, with many people wanting to help and seeking to help, wanting to know what to donate. I've had people donating money all the way from the United States, from Belgium. We have people from Ghana also donating. And then we have people offering to give her provisions, to give her the Milo that she wants, to give her the milk and then malt that she wants to drink before she finally dies. Then we have ash foam coming in with a mattress, and then we have latest foam also coming in with a mattress. So it looks like we'll have 4 different mattresses to lie on. I mean, finally, I mean, her wishes come true.
So these are some of the impactful stories we put out here at Joy News, and that's the whole idea. It's to touch the people and to reach out to the people who are most vulnerable. We're here for you. In fact, the story has gone viral on social media. I would want the director to put the story which is on Facebook up, so that I can just get to give you a fair idea how far this story has gone. We'll do that in a moment. But what are people supposed to do? People who want to still help.
We put the numbers on social media for them to send money. That is, if that money is what they want to send. And if they want to send clothing, if they want to send provisions, they can come to Joy News and then bring their provisions here. And so that is what I want to tell people, that they can still come. They can still come to Joy FM. They can still donate. They can still send in their, because we want to make a difference in her life. If you look at her background, having been widowed, she said she was actually hoping that somebody would even inherit her widow inheritance so that she can get something, but because she was blind, no one wanted her. And so she has gone through a lot. And so the last minute of her life, we should make sure that she enjoys it to the fullest. Yeah. Then. So I'm very, very grateful. Joy News is very grateful to all the people who have donated.
All right, thank you very much, Jojo. So what this woman sought to ask for, in fact, she didn't ask for it. She was just telling her what her wish was. And her wish was that she would have kose to go with her cocoa, and that she would also have fish or protein to go with her banku. And now it appears she's going to get a whole lot more than that. Right, joining me in the studio right now is Dr. Rita Owusu-Amankwa, who's the Director of Social Protection in the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. Thank you very much for making time to join us. Now, what do you make of a story? How did it strike you when you saw the story of Yaya?
Yeah, I must say the story is very pathetic. And then, you know, we have many of such stories, even though they haven't been brought to bear. And so we thank Joy FM for bringing this story. We thank Jojo for doing this story. And that is what we want the media to do, to bring such stories and mobilize support for the poor.
Fortunately, government has a program in place to support people like these. How come, or how is it that we missed Yaya?
Well, it is very unfortunate, but we have a very systematic process in place in enrolling people onto LEAP. We fall on Ghana Statistical Service data, current data, for instance, the Ghana Living Standard Survey. That will give us indication as to where we have volumes of poor people, extremely poor people. And so we select the location based on that, the region, the district, the community based on that. Once we enter into that community, we apply what we call the PROSI test questionnaire to all the people who will come for registration.
We rely very much on communities because we are not there at the community level. We have the community leaders, we have sometimes rely on the chief and elders, we rely on assembly persons to mobilize the people for registration. So I'm wondering how we missed her. And so once we register you, then we pass you through that process to have a POSI test score. There are some scores. If you fall within the score, that we can say that you fall within the poverty or extreme poor people, then you are selected. And then you are enrolled. And then if you are enrolled, you are given a e-switch card. Then subsequent payments will start. And so we know, and once you target people, there is something we call, theoretically, something we call exclusion errors or inclusion errors. Sometimes, because it is a process, a system, you may have one or two people who are supposed to be there, who will be excluded by error. You have people who are not supposed to be there, who will be in there by error. But we try as much as possible to systematically select beneficiaries of LEAP.
So you talk about, errors, that exclusion errors, which would leave people like Yaya out. But what we're gathering from your own data is that there are about 750,000 people like Yaya who have been missed.
Exactly. And, it's gradual, we don't have the resources to cover everybody. Last year, we covered 332,000 households. That translates into 1.4 million people. This year, we are going to cover 350,000 households, so we are going to add more. But we have a backlog. We have people we have registered already. We have identified already as qualified to be served.
You say that you don't have the resources to get to cover everybody.
Not yet.
Except that they're not asking for much, or you're not giving them much. I'm told they're getting somewhere between 80 and 150 cedis.
It's a lot of money. If you aggregate them, we are talking about, last year we used 180 million Ghana cedis. This year we have been given 200 million Ghana cedis to do our work. And so it's not, even though it's individually, you may say that it's small, but if you add all of them together, you will see that it's a lot of money. We are advocating for...
But isn't it the case that you're having to spend so much on administrative expenses such that the people who are supposed to benefit end up getting very little? You're talking about, what, 180 million?
Yeah.
You've been giving how much of the 180 million actually ends up with the people?
We use about 5% for administrative purposes. All the rest of the money goes there. And so we are advocating for more resources for financing social protection. Mind you, social protection is not only LEAP. We have other social protection interventions. School feeding is social protection intervention. And school feeding, for instance, last year we spent almost 400 million Ghana cedis. We have other social protection, like if you are a LEAP beneficiary, you are automatically an NHIS beneficiary. And so that also adds to the cost. We also have capitation grant as social protection intervention. We also have now the SHS. So we have a lot more social protection interventions that together the government is spending so much, huge monies and tackling this. And I must say that the government alone cannot provide social protection interventions to all Ghanaians. That is why in Ghana, we are collaborating with everybody. We want to solicit the support of everybody, the public, everybody, the media. The last year, we had extensive discussions with faith-based organizations. They have a lot of people under them. They mobilize a lot of people. And so we engage them to see how they can mainstream social protection to their policies and activities so that they can cater for their people.
You said something that just struck me, that government cannot cater for all the people who need social protection.
Alone. We are talking about...
Did they say that? Did government actually say that?
We are saying that, you know, it is a collective response. We know that the larger part of the responsibility lies on government.
I'd rather hear that from government. For you, I want to believe that you, as much as possible, advocate for the resources,
yes,
so that you can support the people.
But let me say that social protection is the responsibility of the woman. Said she has 2 children. You don't know what has happened to them. One key thing, Imani.
She actually indicated that one of the children is
occasionally
visits.
Yeah.
But she actually indicated that she understands or she empathizes with the son,
yeah,
for not being able to come see her regularly because he's also struggling.
Yeah. So, and that is why we are saying that wherever we are asking for private sector collaboration. We are asking for faith-based organizations, collaboration from them. If every church in Ghana mainstream social protection into its activities, we will have a lot more. I saw the woman praying before even, you know, she ate her food. Maybe she has been going to church. What church is that? Can the church also come to the aid of that poor woman? One thing that we have also identified, recently, Imani Ghana, you know, did a survey and came out with a video, and some of very positive those beneficiaries of LEAP. But one thing that I noticed was that, you know, children are, neglecting their parents. One particular woman, for instance, had 9 children, but she doesn't even know where they are. And so that's why I'm saying that we all have some responsibilities to play. And so we should all try to play those responsibilities to make life bearable for people.
Do you have a platform that allows people, you congratulated us for bringing out Yaya's story. I'm sure there are lots of people who are watching us right now who would know about many Yayas in the system. Is there a way they can actually nominate people to be giving support?
Yeah, you can. We are now putting up together the Ghana Household Registry. It's going to be the major targeting mechanisms for the country. We have done that for the Upper West. We've done that for Upper East. And now we are going into the 3 northern regions, Savannah, North East, and northern regions next month to gather poverty profile. That one is a census approach that we have adopted. So we'll go into each of the structures in that community with the support of Ghana Statistical Service. Once that is done, then whoever wants to support anybody can go into that system to collect. The Upper East data is ready. Upper West data is ready. So if you want to support people from these regions, you can, by using this data that we've collected, we have compiled to support them. So there is a way to do this. And we are going to cover all the regions to have a very comprehensive data. As I said, LEAP, we are not going into houses. We are not going to homes. But this one, mostly where we have poverty endemic areas, we go use census approach and go into homes and houses to register everybody. We take even biometric information. So it's a very comprehensive information on a particular person. So whoever wants to target people can go into the system, come to Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, GNHR, and then go into the system and select and support.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Rita Owusu-Amankwa. Dr. Rita Owusu-Amankwa is the Director of Social Protection at the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break at this point, but still ahead in the bulletin. A heart-wrenching story coming from the Ashanti region. A 4-year-old has been crushed to death by a school bus which had gone to her home to fetch her.
When they heard of the school bus, they went outside. I was in the house. She had gone behind the vehicle, and the bus ran over her.
And then in business, stable performance of food and non-alcoholic beverages group set to be main drivers of inflation as February rate remains at 7.8%.
The food and non-alcoholic beverages remain the main drivers of inflation.
Stay tuned in. We're back in a bit. It's time for business, and Sandra is here with the business.
All right, thank you so much, Israel. Let's get straight to action. Celebrating 25 years of joy. My name is Sandra Esinam, and I'm here for business. The Ghana Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, GATI, has launched the country's 2017-2018 mining and oil and gas report in Accra, known as the EITI. The latest report brings to 14 the total number published since Ghana signed on to the initiative in 2003. Presenting the findings, co-chairman of the Ghana chapter of EITI, Dr. Stephen Mantial, raised concerns over contributions of extractive industries to communities. Here's a report by Charles Aiti.
Co-chair of Ghana's chapter of the EITI, Dr. Steve Mantial, stated that while disclosures on the management and use of extractive resources are vital in fostering and informed citizens' engagement on natural resource governance, Ghana's long-term objective of enhancing the development outcomes of the extractive sector will not be served if citizens do not capitalize on the reports to demand accountability and the needed policy and practice.
You do. To determine that when I mortgage my forests, the livelihoods of my people, for X amount of taxes and royalties, this is what I get. We don't do anything of the sort. For us, every money is money. Whether it's we are losing out or gaining, we don't really care much. A study done by the World Bank at the turn of the millennium, I think it was 1998 thereabout, indicate that the cost, the environmental cost to human activities, including mining, is about 6% of our GDP. So, if your economy is growing by 4% and the cost to your environment is 6%, are you going or you are coming?
The report further cited that international oil companies such as Anadarko, Eco Atlantic, Vital Upstream, and AGM, though met the threshold for inclusion in the report, failed to submit their templates and therefore did not participate in the exercise. A few companies were also excluded with the reconciliation exercise because they did not meet the materiality threshold of $370,000 and $350,000 for 2017 and 2018 financial years respectively during the scoping phase of the exercise.
Variation in the price will mean that we'll have to make the necessary adjustments in the budget in order to contain the reduction. That is what is immediately, but our debt management unit are also looking at ways of dealing with some of the consequences, fiscal consequences relating to the management of government liabilities, and also some of the benefits we could get from the development in the international economy.
Other key findings show that though the Minister of Finance is required to stipulate the weightings used in the event of realignment, no such weightings were provided in the 2018 budget in respect of the funds of the Ghana infrastructure. Also, GNPC's funds are currently capped under the Petroleum Revenue Management Act at 30% of net petroleum revenues.
Meanwhile, some other findings of the report shows lack of clarity on the relationship between the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC, and the Ghana National Gas Corporation. Currently, GNPC claims responsibility for Ghana Gas as a subsidiary. However, Ghana Gas does not appear to recognize GNPC as a parent company. This development has raised concerns and questions as to whether or not government must intervene with some legislation. Here is Deputy Finance Minister Kweku Kwarteng.
The relationship, I don't think there's a need for any clarity. It is about the institutions working for one state to just sit down and iron out some of the minor differences. I do not think it has been such, they've been such big differences. But issues that have come up recently are quite minor. I think the institutions are capable of addressing these. It is the desire to perform their mandate as fully as they can that leads to what appears sometimes to be overlaps and leads to the disagreement. But I'm quite confident that the leadership of these institutions are able to address these differences and ensure that both working in concert but also working as individual institutions, they can deliver on their mandates for the benefit of the country. Variation in the price will mean that we'll have to make the necessary adjustments in the budget in order to contain the reduction. That is what is immediately contemplatable. But I think we ought to broaden the discussion to cover not just crude oil, but generally as a country, what the opportunities are in this epidemic, but also what measures we need to take to ensure that Ghana is impacted minimally in this global epidemic. That we are working on. The Ministry of Health is working closely with the Ministry of Finance to ensure that we're able to contain the negative impact of the epidemic. But our debt management unit are also looking at ways of dealing with some of the consequences, fiscal consequences relating to the management of government liabilities.
Let's do other stories now, and our headline tonight is the rate of inflation recorded between February 2019 and February 2020 stays at 7.8%, which is the same figure recorded for last month. This, the Ghana Statistical Service has attributed to the continuous stable performance of food and non-alcoholic beverages group. Details in this report.
The food division is the largest contributor to the month-on-month inflation, while clothing and footwear formed the second largest contributor this month. Monthly change in the rate of inflation between February 2020 and January 2020 was 0.4%. Food inflation was 7.7% and non-food inflation was 7.9%. The contribution of housing, including water, electricity, gas, etc., went down from 10.2% to 8.5%. Here is the acting deputy statistician, David Combat.
In the month of February 2020, the general price level was 7.8% higher than what was recorded for the month of February 2019. Month-on-month inflation between February 2020 and January 2020 was 0.4%. The food and non-alcoholic beverages remain the main drivers of inflation.
For the last 4 months, inflation for locally produced goods has been growing faster than inflation for imported goods.
If you go to the market and you want to buy chicken, the imported ones, a whole box, is a little over 100 Ghana cedis. One local fowl, one local fowl is one. That weighs just about 5 or less kilos. It's almost 400. No, more 60 cedis, 60 cedis. So it's not in all cases that you have this, So, but these are averages. You are not able to tell that it's always that imported items should have higher prices than locally produced items.
For regions, the Greater Accra, Volta, Western and Eastern regions recorded inflation rates above the national average of 7.8%.
The Minister for Aviation, Kofi Adda, says Ghana is exploring a $10 million solar project from India for the country's airports. The adoption of solar energy by airports is in line with the International Civil Aviation Organization's push for the use of more renewable energy sources in response to the threat of climate change. The Minister for Aviation revealed this plan when the Indian High Commissioner to Ghana paid him a courtesy call.
Currently, India's Cochin International Airport, located in the state of Kerala, is the first solar power airport in the world. According to the Minister for Aviation, following a visit to India last year, government has begun negotiations on adopting similar solar energy sources at our airports. He spoke after a courtesy call from the Indian High Commissioner to Ghana.
Team came down from here, invited us over. We went to see what was done there, and they brought their proposals, went around the airports and assessed them, and brought cost, and also brought financing facility from the Indian Exim Bank on what they could do. It's about nearly $10 million that they want to use to convert all the airports to solar in Ghana. Of course, it will increase over time, but for now, that's what they proposed. I think it's slightly over $10 million, just around that figure.
That'll be all for business for now. I'm back after 8 p.m. with more business. Do stay tuned.
Nuella is here. Hello, Nuella.
Hi, Ezra. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm great.
Okay.
So let's begin with Miss Bell. When was the last time you heard anything from her? Song, anything?
Been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah, exactly. So I caught up with her and I asked her about her inactiveness on the musical front, and she has been explaining to me. According to her, she's slightly given up on music because the current because the current government has been sabotaging her career.
Oh.
No, not entirely, but it looks like it, but I haven't.
Why?
Can I even explain? I don't know why. I think 50% because of change of government. And
change of government is stopping you from training our music?
Kind of, because see, I'm getting sabotage here and there. I'm being booked on a show. The next minute they will say, okay, our guest is so and so person, and they claim that if you are performing, they are not coming and blah blah blah. So then I stop getting shows. So why will I invest in music and then not make the money back? Because we make money from like being booked on shows. So.
But I mean, there are other musicians that are, NDC members whatsoever. But I mean, they're doing quite well.
Say her names.
Like, not mentioning the name.
Not true, because it's not true.
Do you think government is sabotaging NDC musicians?
I'm personally told that we can't put you on the show anymore. We have to take you off the show because our guest, like our special guest, is this person, and her team is saying that if you are on the show, she's not coming. So they have to kick me off, and it happened twice. And since then, nobody will book me on the show because I believe they will tell them this. There are some shows that I know that every year be a but so why will you invest in music and not make the money back? I mean, like.
So should your party come back and power you, come back to music?
By all means.
Interesting. But away from that, actress Pascaline Edwards is another, entertainer who has been missing in action for a while. My colleague Doreen Avio caught up with her, and she's been explaining her inactiveness as well. Beg your pardon.
People still owe me monies from 2000. Yes, monies, not money, monies. But you see, in our time, when the new crop of actors came, when you want to talk, then it's like, but I'm happy it's getting to them. You see, so when an old veteran actor is talking, you should know that, hey, Satuna betting to me. So I also have to learn from their mistakes and correct me. People owe me, honest. And some of them, I judge them to collect my money. That's why they don't use me anymore. They've blacklisted me. And I'm happy with it. But I am glad that some of them are coming out and saying it. So it means that, now you're singing my song. But me, I won't brush you off. I will support you. So that even if I don't get my money, we will correct it so that they don't owe us again. They don't take us for granted again.
Is it a case that sometimes when they owe you and you tend to become more like attacking them?
Challenge you or more, so they don't like it. So they don't use you again. And you see, they are a solid team. They produce the money, the script and everything to use us. But if we can also show them that without us, if you are a farmer and I'm the cutlass, without me you can't work, then let your money go and work for you. If we can come up together like that, they won't stand a chance. I can't say much for Actors Guild, but I said with a painful heart that Actors Guild, me personally, I joined Actors Guild when I was in my 20s. Actors Guild had never done anything for me. So I don't have confidence in the Guild. But if now the Guild will get up and stand for us, we will make it. We will make it.
Now break into our programming to bring you that address by President Akufo-Addo on the COVID-19 and the country's preparedness towards that.
Fellow Ghanaians, good evening. 5 days ago, on 6th March, at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium in Kumasi, on the occasion of our nation's 63rd independence anniversary celebration, I gave an update on the measures put in by government in response to the novel coronavirus disease, which has so far affected some 118,000 people across the world, resulted in the deaths of some 4,000 persons, and is wreaking havoc on the global economy. WHO has now characterized it as a pandemic. Prior to the address on 6th March, I visited the Kotoka International Airport in Accra, isolation and treatment centers of the Tema General Hospital and the Rish Hospital in Accra, to see at first hand part of our state of readiness to deal with the virus, should any suspected case be recorded on our shores. The continuous monitoring of the pandemic has revealed a number of significant developments which require that the nation be brought up to speed on some additional measures we have to take to shore up our response mechanism. Fellow Ghanaians, as you may have heard in the news, Burkina Faso, our northern neighbor, has confirmed her first 2 cases of coronavirus infections. Togo to our east has 1 confirmed case, and Côte d'Ivoire to our west also has 1 confirmed case. Several countries in Europe, like Italy, where we have quite a large population of Ghanaians, have, as a result of the surge in infections, escalated dramatically their response to the outbreak. Thus far, our points of entry, such as our airports and land borders, continue to show satisfactory preparedness to screen all entrants into Ghana. The Ministry of Health has designated a quarantine facility that can hold infected persons, whilst regional hospitals are preparing isolation centers for holding suspected cases. Our country's 2 main research institutions, the Noguchi Memorial Institute and the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research, which have the capacity to investigate and confirm or otherwise suspected cases of coronavirus infections, have been very supportive in this regard. So far, they have found that the 57 suspected cases, as of today, Wednesday, 11th March, have proved negative. However, it is imperative that we step up our preparedness to ensure that beyond these initial satisfactory measures, we adopt a whole-of-Ghana approach in adequately preparing for a possible hit within our borders. In order to do so, at my prompting, the Minister for Finance has made available the CD equivalent of 100 million United States dollars to enhance our coronavirus preparedness and response plan. That is to fund the expansion of infrastructure, purchase of materials and equipment, and public education. I have, as of yesterday, ordered the suspension of all international travels by public officials, except for critical assignments, which will have to be authorized by the Chief of Staff at the Office of the President. All public officials are to remain within the jurisdiction until further notice. Video conferencing facilities and other technological tools are to be utilized whenever possible for international engagements. I've also instructed further enhancements of the protocols for inbound traffic from already affected countries. Fellow Ghanaians, all of us should, as much as possible, desist from all foreign travels, except the most critical ones, until there's a grip on the virus. The Ministry of Information is leading a nationwide public education campaign on preventive measures that we must all observe to ensure that we're able to control the spread of infections should we record any infections in the country, which mercifully, so far, we have not, but which, by the law of averages, we shall. For the time being, a weekly update on the situation will be provided by the ministry. There will be more frequent updates should the need arise. I want to reiterate, as I indicated on 6th March, and as the Ministry of Health has advised, that we have to revisit our custom of shaking hands and stop doing so completely. And we must cover our mouths when we cough or sneeze. This fight, fellow Ghanaians, cannot be that of government alone. It is for all of us. I urge the media to join this cause fully and help disseminate effectively information on the do's and don'ts of the disease. The information to be put out, however, must be that approved by health authorities and not just from any piece of literature found on the internet, as false materials are already being spread from other jurisdictions. I appeal to civil society organizations, schools, universities, faith-based organizations, and places which harbor large gatherings, such as classrooms, lecture halls, meetings, parties, and funerals, to put in place mechanisms to caution and assist patrons on basic preventive measures. I was encouraged to note that the 2 well-attended funerals I participated in over the weekend in Ashanti, people were observing the injunction against shaking hands. All of us need to adjust. Let us continue to observe the basic preventive behavior, i.e. washing our hands regularly, using alcohol-based sanitizers, stopping shaking hands, and avoiding unnecessary close body contact. Government is analyzing the potential impact to our economy of the virus and will trigger the relevant response to minimize it. We've begun to engage with the domestic pharmaceutical industry to assist in producing as much of the logistics required to prevent and combat the virus as is possible under the circumstances. Indeed, we must take advantage of this crisis to strengthen our domestic productive capacity so we can advance our self-reliance and reduce our dependence on foreign imports. Necessity, they say, is the mother of invention. We're grateful to the World Health Organization, WHO, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and Friends of Ghana for the assistance they have so far provided and for the pledges made in support of our fight. We shall continue to work with them to defeat the spread of the virus. I'm confident that together, with all hands on deck, we will be successful in weathering this storm. May God bless us all and our homeland Ghana and make her great and strong. I thank you for your attention.
Right, so that was President Akufo-Addo addressing the nation on the enhanced measures taken by government to contain any outbreak of COVID-19 in Ghana. One of the things he said is that we should avoid unnecessary close body contact, avoid shaking of hands and all of that. Now, moving on, and Joy News Prime, the Transport Ministry is vowing to enforce to the letter the country's road traffic regulations. The move comes after the deaths of thousands of people in road crashes, often blamed on the failure to observe basic road traffic laws. The latest is the accident on the Tamale-Kintampo Road, in which at least 30 lives were lost and the bodies of the passengers burned beyond recognition. At a meeting with members of the GPRT and other transport heads in Accra, Sector Minister Kweku Ofori-Esiama stated almost 400 people have died since Christmas. He announced the ministry, together with the Road Safety Authority and the police, will henceforth make it difficult for commercial vehicles that are not registered with any transport union in the country to operate.
Any personal commercial vehicle belong to association.
It will be challenging for commercial vehicles without transport association membership to operate from this day onwards. This is so we can hold transport operators more responsible. We are in discussion with authorities. The National Road Safety Authority will have 100 more individuals being recruited as road safety inspectors. We hope to achieve this by the last day of April this year.
From now to ending of maybe April, you begin the road inspectors.
Exactly a year ago, after over 70 people died from a road crash on the same Tamale-Kintampo stretch, which claimed 31 lives last week, President Akufo-Addo gave out a charge to the agencies involved.
We've all heard of the horrific accident that took place in the early hours of this morning at Amoma Nkwanta in the Kintampo South District of the Bono region, claiming over 70 lives. My sympathies and condolences go to all the families and loved ones of the deceased. May the Almighty grant their souls peaceful rest. Last year, I set up an interministerial committee composed of the Minister for the Interior, the Minister for Roads and Highways, and the Minister for Transport to examine and propose measures to deal with the increased rate of road accidents in the country. The committee has concluded its work and has made recommendations for the consideration of the Police Council. As the police is the institution charged with the regulation of traffic on our roads, it is my hope that the recommendations will be speedily acted upon and outlawed as soon as possible. As we can all see, the issue is urgent.
Since the announcement of that action plan in 2018, not much has been done. And that's a point made by ranking member on the Roads and Transport Committee, Kwame Agboja, in Parliament on Wednesday. He is criticizing President Akufo-Addo for not showing leadership, saying he has not spoken out enough about the road carnage.
Accidents that happen in this country, we are told, are caused by human error. Human error in the sense that a driver error. It's not because the vehicles are old. It's not because of force majeure, but driver error. What does it tell us? It tells us that perhaps the way we train our drivers and the enforcement of the traffic regulations are not what it should be. But hardly do I see the conversation addressing it this way from government. In fact, I hardly even hear the president himself. The last one which happened with Cape Coast happened a few days before the New Year's school. I was surprised it didn't even feature in the president's presentation at that point. As it happened this one, the Kintampo one, I'm here to know whether the president made a statement. Why am I saying this? It's about leadership. It's about the president leading us to feel that this is what I feel we all need to do as a people together to address this.
Incident, he tweeted expressing condolence.
Well, since when has the president become like Donald Trump, where conducting the affairs of government on Twitter? How many Ghanaians are on Twitter? I mean, it's a good idea. Maybe I can read. Maybe you can read. But the bulk of the people can't. So the president cannot reduce this to, I mean, what Trump is doing is even a problem for the United States in terms of running the country on Twitter. So we can't actually try to adopt that. That's not one of the things we should copy. The president should be able to speak out and tell us his roadmap. The last time it happened, he said he's put up a committee of some people to come out with some recommendation. Where are we in terms of implementing the recommendation? And where are the milestones in terms of when we do this, it's going to reduce accident, the spate of accident by this percentage over this period? Nothing like that. No milestones, no targets or anything.
Well, today at the meeting with the transport unions, Transport Minister Kweku Ofori-Asiamah said the 2020 budget has made provision for the dualization of the country's major highways.
For roads and highways for budget, they are double just to begin the construction of dual carriage now.
You discover upon checks that the budget for the Ministry for Roads and Highways has been doubled to begin the construction of dual carriage roads. In the meantime, we need to think of ways to decrease accidents. Police cars have been increased. National Road Safety budget has been increased by 3 times also. The authority has made more adverts from January till now than ever before. Yet, even in the face of this, more people are dying through road accidents.
National Road Safety, and that's the year behind your money. And start to point in independent more.
First Deputy Speaker of Parliament Joseph Owusu has meanwhile been commending the State Transport Company for their good practices which ensure their vehicles do not get involved in accident. He was speaking as Parliament approved tax waivers to the tune of 40 million cedis for STC and Metro Mass Transit to import vehicles into the country.
Their best premium, I mean, the biggest opportunity they have is that they are trusted for being safe. That is the most attractive part of STC. They are trusted that STC will deliver you to your destination. Of all the reports of accidents that we have heard recently, there is none involving STC buses, because in many instances they obey the rules. For example, the rule is that no driver should drive continuously for more than 4 hours. And so on their high journeys, they have 2 drivers. Accra to Wa or Accra to Tamale, they will have 2 drivers. That will cost them more than the other operator who is using 1 driver and therefore prone to accidents and so on. So when we compare, we should compare all the parameters. It is these things that should enable us to determine whether our STC is truly making profit or they should. But most importantly, we want those services. Without providing the tax incentives, they may collapse.
Now, victims of Tuesday's road accident at Walwale who went into coma have gained consciousness and are receiving treatment at referral facilities in the northern region. 2 of the victims have since been treated and discharged. The victims, who were traveling from Kumasi to Boku and Timpane in the Upper East region, suffered various degrees of injuries when their bus slammed into a moving tipper truck on a section of the Tamale-Bolga trunk road at Walwale. Now, that's just by way of updating you as far as accidents are concerned. And yet, moving on to another rather heart-wrenching story. Tragedy struck earlier today at Sawaba Adinyase in Kumasi when a school bus ran over a child the driver was supposed to take to school. 4-year-old Aishetu is said to have run behind the reversing Benz bus in a bid to board the vehicle. Police have arrested the driver to assist the investigation. Love FM's Erastus Asari Donko has more.
The lifeless body of little Aishetu lies in a bedroom at the family house. Her eagerness to join her friends at the Happy Kids School at Sawaba was cut short in the early hours of Wednesday. This bus was supposed to pick her and her friends up for school. In the process of parking the vehicle, the reversing bus ran over her on the blind side of the driver. It took continuous shouts from onlookers to alert the driver of what was happening. Driver of the vehicle has been arrested by police. Inside the family house, mother of the little girl hugs her 2 remaining children in grief.
No, mchezi wa muskuka naba.
When they heard of the school bus, they went outside. I was in the house. She had gone behind the vehicle, and the bus ran over her. Her brother came in to tell me.
Meanwhile, family members want police to release the body for burial. Samuel Duaburi is the assembly member for the Sawaba Adinyase electoral area.
The family is appealing to the police to release the body to them for burial, according to the Muslim custom.
Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaridonko, Kumasi.
The main basic school at Akwamufi in the eastern region is in poor shape. Authorities describe it as a facility threatening the safety of pupils there. According to headmaster of the school, Daniel Dakumenta, a leaking roof forces pupils to move to a nearby chapel whenever it rains. But today, renowned American Ghanaian businesswoman Bozoma St. John Daniel is coming to the aid of the school through her NGO Pencils of Promise. Joining us is PSC Nane Asafo has the details.
Pupils of Akwamufi Basic Primary School in the Eastern Region singing praises to the non-profit organization Pencils of Promise. The outfit on Thursday cut sword for the construction of a 3-unit classroom block which will serve as a modern kindergarten facility in Akwamufi.
I came to Akwamufi almost 2 years ago. I was installed as the Odupama here in the region.
Bozoma St. John also serves as Global Ambassador for Pencils of Promise. She says the $50,000 project is only the beginning in an agenda to transform lives of native children.
I hope that the kids who are educated there will not just brighten this community, but also brighten Ghana and then Africa as a whole, and of course the world as a higher resort.
Headmaster for the school, Daniel Dakuminta, thanked the NGO for the project and hinted of massive infrastructural challenges the school suffers, especially during the rainy season.
With this, we are so happy. Education affects the children. When it's about to rain, we have to move them from that place to another place. And also there is heat in the room there. Yes, we have the floor of the classroom broken. So the children step in and sometimes we have broken limbs and other things. So cracks in the walls, broken floors and leaking roof. Sometimes we move to the chapel. Yes, that's where we have a safe place.
District Director of Education for Sujaman, Theodora Kutoko NT, joined in the plea.
I want to use this opportunity to humbly appeal to your support to renovate both the primary and the JHS blocks here in Akwamufi, to give it a facelift. This dilapidated building has served the community for so many years without any major renovation. I'm making this appeal because we nearly recorded a casualty a few weeks ago.
Member of Parliament for the constituency, Thomas Ampim Nyako, expressed gratitude for the project.
We are grateful. Unfortunately, the last 3 years has also seen a very low investment in educational infrastructure because of government's decision to implement free SHS. But even though we embrace that, it is very, very important that we provide some of these facilities to be able to help in the education of our little ones.
Once completed, the kindergarten facility is also to have 2 funds, 1 large tank for water storage, and continuous teacher support through training with materials for effective learning.
You surprised me with this. I didn't know this was coming.
Odinho Kwafu Akoto III is paramount chief of the Akwa State. He expressed optimism about the future of development in the community.
I know today is just the beginning. I know we are going to do more to uplift the state of Akwa.
Meanwhile, residents hope the project will be the start of an infrastructural transformation in the community. PSC Nanaya Safo, Joy News.
Presec Legon are champions of the National Science and Maths Quiz in the Greater Accra region. They stunned their arch rivals, Accra Academy and Chemu SHS, in a fiercely contested competition to clinch the ultimate. Earlier, the Odadiers crashed reigning champions Achimota School to keep their hopes alive in the championship. It was Accra Academy that led the first round of the competition but could not keep the momentum, losing it to Legon Presec. The NSMQ record holders won with 38 points, 18 points ahead of Accra Academy, whilst Chemu SHS could only manage to end the contest with 17 points. Here are excerpts of the grand finale of the Greater Accra Regional Championship.
I'm a binary covalent compound with triatomic molecules. The sad thing is that in my peculiar state, I am like a prisoner. I am indeed trapped in between salts in their lattices. Accra Academy.
Water.
No. Flies out of solutions. Presec.
Water of crystallization.
That is correct. I am a tubular structure. I'm unique to plants and my structure has evolved over the history of plants. My formation is important for sexual reproduction to occur in seed plants. Presec Legon.
Pollen tube.
That is correct. Let's go on to our last riddle. We'll finish right after this. I am a probability distribution. I'm named after two scientists. Yes, Presec.
Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution.
Correct. At the end of the final contest of the Greater Accra Zonal Championship of the 2020 National Science and Maths Quiz, these are the results. Chemu Senior High School had 17 points. Accra Academy had 20 points. Chemu Senior High School and Accra Academy, better luck to you next time. I pray you go and prepare, please. I pray you go and prepare very well for the national contest as you're all coming. Order there. I didn't get your response. Order there. Order there. Presec Legon, congratulations to you. You won the contest. You are the Greater Accra Regional champions. You won with 38 points.
Now, we're returning to an earlier story we missed on Showbiz, and the Spanish ambassador to Ghana, Her Excellency Alicia Rico, says her office is ready to strengthen partnerships with Ghana through culture. Speaking at a guitar classical concert organized by the Spanish Embassy in collaboration with the Creative Arts Council, she described the proposed merger of cultures as a brilliant idea which must be promoted. During a view of our Showbiz desk has this report.
This is new to us. I mean classical music. At best, it is reserved for the affluent in society. Performances are laced with guitar sounds.
Live with the sorrow. All we want is the better tomorrow. I've got what I've got. What you've got, what you've got. Keep your red wine, I'll sip my sobolo. Keep your sleep, girl, I love my obolo.
But patrons are warming up gradually to it. A guitar concert was held at the Best Western premiere on Tuesday night featuring National Symphony Orchestra, 6 strings and a special guest from Spain. The Spanish ambassador was among the special guests. Her Excellency Alicia Rico explained the reasons for merger in cultures.
I think that's a brilliant idea, and obviously cooperation goes both ways, and now we have a Spanish artist here playing with the Ghanaian National Symphony Orchestra, and it can be the other way around, of course. I think what we want to do in the framework of our cultural diplomacy is to strengthen ties and a partnership with Ghana through culture. And that means carrying out activities here, but also in Spain.
Ghanaian industry players who were present at the event also shared their impressions of the show.
Yes, you know, because I love classic music, especially jazz, fusion, blues, and, you know, what they were doing tonight, the orchestra. I really love it.
I think it was more relaxing. I enjoyed it. And it took me a while to actually soak into the music because I'm used to our type of music. So I was sitting next to Eddie Nat. I'm like, Eddie, yeah, your style crowd. It's like, baby, just relax and just let it sink into you. And that's what I did, and I enjoyed it. It was fun, and I'm excited to be here.
I wonder what you're saying, this kind of music, but I think this is something that relaxes one after a hard day's work, and I really enjoyed myself. Unfortunately, I didn't expect it was going to end so soon. It just came to an abrupt end, but basically I really enjoyed myself, something to calm me down. It was great.
It's a great idea because every country is sold by their arts industry. So I think the Spanish are smart. They saw what we can do. They can do what we can do. I mean, you can sell Africa to whites better than we Africans. And so they're tapping into rights. So we have to be smart.
We are percussion driven as Africans. And the West they are strings driven. And so you see more violin, viola, guitars. Our only side that is string is a guitar, which we call homensia. That is why the young man calls himself 6 strings. It represents high life or Ghanaian music.
We'll take a break now to bring you more business. Stay tuned in.
All right, so still on the coronavirus, the World Health Organization, WHO, has finally declared the virus a pandemic. Even though Ghana is yet to record a case, the use of disinfectants as a means of limiting the spread of the virus has surged. My colleague Alberta BCU has been interacting with the head of brand development and activation of PZ Carsons for more on this development.
It has seeped in slowly within the Ghanaian market. Some have accepted it and are looking for the product to buy. But gradually we realize that there's an increment in our sales. And actually it's fair to say that we have about doubled what we were selling before the outbreak started. What we recognize is that Ghanaians still think it's far away, a lot of people. And so they're yet to get into the actual habits on a day-to-day basis of using an alcohol-based hand rub or sanitizer as is. But that's growing, and we expect it to grow. What we recognize in all of this is the habit of using on-the-go hand cleaning products is not yet caught on. It was high during Ebola, but then as soon as Ebola went away, we saw a significant dip in behavior. And we're hoping that through this, it will become a way of life more than a response to an epidemic of this nature. And what we're saying is that because the demand in Nigeria has shot up, and we have capacity within a certain framework to work as a factory, as a production hub, they are consuming a lot of it in Nigeria. And so even if we shipped, because of the port-related issues, you'd realize that it will take a very long.
All right, the commodity news update is up next, and crude oil sold today for $36.17 a barrel after further going down by minus 1.05 cents. More details coming up. That'll be all for business tonight. My name is Sandra S. and I'm up. And for more business news updates, log on to myjoyonline.com/business. And if you want to know what's happening in the Champions League and who is not walking alone, stay tuned for the sports news.
Good evening and welcome to the sports here on Prime with me, Obreko Wampofo, and we do start off from the Ghana Premier League, which has seen some midweek fixtures coming along this week. We've seen the first round of matches with some expected to come off tomorrow. The headline fixture today was the Manchester Derby between Hearts and Accra Great Olympics, which is currently ongoing. Accra Heart of Oak are the smiling neighbours because they are leading by 3-0. First half goal by Joseph Esso and 2 quick-fire second-half goals by Afutu to ensure that Heart of Oak would not just be the noisy or Lotto kiosk members in Heart of Oak in this Manchester Derby. But in terms of other results in match day 14, Mediama won 2-0 against 11 Wonders. Ebusia Drafts came from behind to beat King Faisal by 2-1. Ashanti Gold lost 1-0 courtesy a goal by Prince Edu Kwabnat. Berkum Chelsea beating Legon City's Dreams FC, failing to score a goal in their 9th consecutive game as they drew Karela 0-0. And Indiana Stars Yaya Mohammed on the score sheet again as they defeated Wafa by 1-0. We do some more stories now where the completion of the Azumah Nelson Sports Complex is still on hold because after 2 years on the Azumah Nelson Sports Complex, the contractors have missed the deadline of completing this project 3 separate times. Now, despite this, site engineer Paul Atanga is still unsure of when it would be completed.
Exactly 2 years ago, the Minister of Youth and Sports, Isaac Esiama, was at this very venue to cut a sort for the rehabilitation of the Azumah Nelson Sports Complex, rechristened Azumah Nelson Youth Resource Center.
We are going to have a standard FIFA football pitch, 8-lane running tracks, tennis courts, handball courts, car park, swimming pool. In addition, this center also provides services such as a counseling center for young people, ICT center, and of course, entrepreneurship center. So, we have about 16 calendar months to complete this project. So, by next year, or by next year, you come and see a fully furnished, well refurbished Azumah Nelson Youth and Sports Center.
It has been 2 years since the Minister of Youth and Sports cut the sort. It has been 1 year, 2 months since the project was supposed to be completed. However, work still appears to be far from over as engineer on site, Paul Atanga, tells Joy Sports. Challenges beyond their control is the reason why they've not been able to get the job done.
Kaneshi Sports Complex, by virtue of its geographical location, is a flood-prone area. When it rains, the water that comes in, even the pitch itself is also low, so we need to build it up. The VIP, the location of the VIP where it is, water keeps on, flowing into the VIP. So we need to do a retaining wall there to block the soil that flows in when it rains so that we can work within the VIP. Now, this retaining wall is something, we've been craving. We've been pleading with authorities involved to help get us a consultant so that we can start with the retaining wall so that we can know when we'll finish this project and hand it over to Ghanaians.
So when do you think the retaining wall will be done? And if it is done, how long will it take you to complete?
Yeah, so far, when we are done with the retaining wall, we can now work within the VIP. And then within 2-3 months, when the VIP is finishing, then it means we are handing over the project. Because as we are not working under the VIP, we are still working under the other stands. We are working on the pitch. So the VIP is now the determining factor. The moment we finish the VIP, it means we are handing over for Ghanaians. So when it is being approved, we start this month, barely 2-3 months, we should be handing over this project to Ghanaians to use.
When are you going to finish?
The retaining wall is a determining factor to when I will finish.
Time might not be running out for a contractor, but patience is probably running out for a young athlete who wished he could use this facility to hone his God-given talent and prepare himself for 2023. Their wish remains just a wish, as not even the contractor can tell when work will be completed. From the Azuma Nelson Youth Resource Center for Joy Sports, I am Muftau Nabila Abdullahi.
Before we do go, let's get the latest in the Champions League matches currently ongoing. Liverpool are now equal in terms of the tie because they lead by 1-0, cancelling Atletico Madrid's earlier lead at the Wanda Metropolitano. It's still 45 minutes remaining in both ties. Paris Saint-Germain leading 2-0 through a goal by Neymar and Juan Bernat. Remember, the first leg ended 2-1 in favour of Dortmund, and as things do stand, the Liverpool match would be heading into extra time and Paris Saint-Germain would be qualifying to the quarter-final stage. The sport here on Prime with me, Oreku Ampofo. Do have a fantastic evening.
On Journeys Interactive tonight, there's just one story that I want to share with you. It has to do with the story of Yaya, who is a visually impaired old woman in the Northeast region. We put out a story, and the story has gone viral. As you can see now, we put it out 23 hours ago on our Facebook page. It has 1,600 comments, 2,900 shares, and 4,700 reactions. It's a story that has touched many. It's mainly because of what she's asking for. This is a woman who's asking for basic needs. These basic needs you can find on her wish list. These basic needs that we all take for granted is what she's asking for. She wants protein to go with her banku. She wants kose to go with her cocoa. That's not much to ask for. So if you feel like helping, we put out a number here. 050-741-0616, and you call Jojo Kobna, who did the story, and you can get to assist. But let's read some of your comments. Anthony says, I'm just weeping. This life. Lord, let's help all meet in life. Lighting the match. That's the bit that a lot of people felt quite touched. Juanita says, please, I want to visit her in person. How can I see her? Can I get the name of the town and the district and region as well? I know by the report her name is Madam Yaya. Yes. So the number is there. You call Jojo. I think Jojo is organizing a trip to the place. Isa says, God is great. The man who sent this, God bless you and all human beings. And Vida says, Uhiaye. Okay, not quite getting the tree. And Tina says, I can't watch this anymore. I'm so sad. God Almighty, open doors for this lady, old lady, in Jesus' name. Amen. And earlier during the news, we had someone from the gender ministry to come talk about it, to come talk about how we miss out, or how the gender ministry or the LEAP program is able to miss out on people like Yaya. And they've talked about what they're going to do to make things better. And we hope that help can get to not just her, but there are over 750,000 people who are like her, who are left out. That'll be all for the bulletin. My name is Israel Lai. Thank you very much for watching. Up next, we bring you PM Express with Evans Benson. Stay tuned.